Introducing X-Credi LP staking from industry-leading RWA loan collateralization platform Credify. Earn 10% cashback in USDT after 90 days, with more rewards coming soon for X-Credi holders. Visit v2.credify.finance.
Good afternoon, everyone. BC Richfield here, coming to you live from London. It's just gone a couple of minutes past midday here, making it a couple of minutes past 1100 UTC. A big shout out to everybody that's joining the stream live today, as well as everybody and all our friends that watch this on recording from all over the world. So how are we doing today, everyone? A big welcome, a big shout out to everybody in the chat as well. Seb, Nit, Erica, Gio, everybody else that's writing at the moment. Apologies if I can't see your good mornings or your comments. We only get the feed through, I believe, from Twitter, or X, as we call it now. But a very good and happy Monday to everyone. Crypto markets continue to look good. Bitcoin ascending its way into much happier territory. So we're going to cover all the levels and bits and pieces on Bitcoin today as well. What I really do want to do today, though, is I really do want to kind of condense this down and really kind of look at Bitcoin, but also really kind of get our head into where we are with some of these altcoins as well. So do let me know if anything is hot that you want us to take a look at, and we will absolutely make some time to do so. So without further ado, big shout out to our sponsors here as well. So our friends over at Bitget, who without their continued support, it wouldn't be possible to bring you all of this free content. So please do go and check out at the moment. They got an amazing announcement. They've just renewed with La Liga as main sponsors. That is unreal. So if you're a Real Madrid fan, Barcelona, Bilbao, could be a little bit of Atletico in there, you know, whoever it is that you like in that respect, then you can see their glorious sponsorship all over that again now. And that's a huge kudos to them. So to celebrate, all you need to do is go and sign up through the Bitget link, completely free, and you're going to get $20. Yeah, not $20 that's tied to some points and some other nonsense. Just $20 USDT digital cash in your hand, yours to spend. All right. And all you have to do is make a minimum deposit for that. I think it's $100 as well. So it's very low. So you can find the link in the description for that. So please do go and take a look. And just one more thing that I wanted to run by with you guys today. So we've started working with this new company, right? And they've been on our horizon for a while. So really excited to announce this today, which is Alchemy. Okay, so you're talking about a digitalized, kind of tokenized advertising platform. The key thing with this, and this is what's kind of excited me for a while. So I don't, as you guys know, get really deep into the kind of fundamental side and bits and pieces, although I have a wonderful team that do that for us. But I am a huge fan of tokenized projects that have this application, especially to advertising. I think it's an absolute huge space that's ripe for disruption. So you've got them approaching a decentralized ad exchange platform, all right? It basically works on optimizing ad spending for advertisers and publishers, just bringing that thing all into one. It reduces ad fraud, gets rid of middlemen, so it becomes more cost efficient, meaning that it's better to deliver you the content, or the people the content that they really want, in a way that's a lot more targeted, all right? And also their huge focus, which was a big concern for us previously with other companies doing it in this space, but their focus on privacy and data security is unbelievable. Now, we always say this to people: do your own research. I am an early stage investor. I always tell people that I am. You can find out more about the ADS token as well, which is used for transactions and rewards. But please do go and check them out, guys. I think companies like this, with the market conditions that we've got, they're going to really provide some great investment opportunities going forward. So go and check them out. And obviously you can come and hit us up if you've got any questions or want access to any of the information. Please don't hesitate to just reach out and we will do it. Seb, we can absolutely take a look at FTM for you. Really like that. Moral, how are you doing, mate? Great to hear from you. So without further ado, let's grab ourselves some screen time, shall we? Now, you're going to have to forgive me. It has been a busy morning. And for that reason and that reason alone, I was even DJing a little bit yesterday myself, I have to admit. So we've got a few bits and pieces on the chart today. Right now, I'm going to zoom out for you so that we, as always, get our higher time frame context here. Please just forgive a little bit of mess in and around here. Right now, while this might look a little bit like a kind of more linear-based Jackson Pollock, there is real kind of meaning and significance to all of these levels, right? So the thicker levels we derive off of our higher time frame, quite simply, to quote one of the legends himself, Dante, who I learned so much from in terms of drawing these kind of levels out, SZ as well, who's, you know, a consistent inspiration, I think, to myself and many others, is you want to see violence at these lines, right? At these levels, you want to see price have a strong reaction. When we retouch this level here, for example, look at the impulse move that it caused. Yeah, same way as when we come down into this level here, look at the reaction. So while this looks a little bit messy, it will kind of make sense as we move to the lower time frames. The thinner lines are normally refined between a 4 and a 1 hour chart. And these, the orange slope lines here, you can see are two really key slope resistances that we have. Now, normally you kind of focus on one, but actually I thought both of these were significant in terms of the amount of touch points that they had and how much clean interaction. Like this level here, for example, this line post deviation had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejections at this level. So when we zoom in, you know, we can see very clearly then this huge strong move above this line here. Price closes, we get the retest. I mean, we retested our 64,802 level, you know, almost to the cent there. And then obviously came back and closed above the wick. Closing above this level here tells you a lot. You then create this bullish gap here. We then push up. We then get to our next resistance level here at 67,247. Again, we see the strong close above the retest of this area. And now, in my opinion, if we're looking at it from a point of liquidity, which is how I always look at the markets, then 70,067 is the next key level for me here on Bitcoin. Now, to just drop this down a little bit and bring the rest of this into context, let me just get the session breaks off very quickly. So we can see here, after establishing ourselves above here, and look at the respect here we got on the 4 hour, rejection. Look at the bodies of the candles. Then when we close above this here, this is the first stage indication. When we set the order block, ultimately price is then away. So what do we look for in these situations? It's never a good idea. Look, fine, this is my opinion, right? But this is how I trade the markets as a professional trader who works alongside a very, very good professional trading team. Is, you know, FOMOing into these kind of positions when you see these things pop is often not the best move, right? What we want to do is we want to show a little bit of patience. And as I released in the Bitcoin report yesterday, we want to be targeting these kind of areas here. So as we see over the weekend, we had this big expansion on Friday. Okay, New York session on Friday just absolutely delivered in the AM. We got that big pump aligned with the kind of market data. So then we look, okay, where are our order blocks? So this down close candle here. And then where are our gaps, right? Where are the inefficiencies here that the market's going to look to rebalance? When we're in these areas, you know, I never want to be short in these areas. Bullish market structure, bullish gap. I want to be looking for longs here, all right? So as we're in here looking for long setups, quite simply, we're in a position whereby we can say, look, if we close below this, then let's dive into the lower time frames here and see if we have got any issues. Are we looking weak? Are we looking to break down? So we'll look at that very quickly in a moment. But ultimately, this was just the position to long from, released it in the last few reports. Market is just looking up at the moment. Now, we see an area like this, which becomes of great interest. And you start to see an area like this fail to offer that support. In fact, very vocally yesterday, if you look back on my Twitter, you can find it BC_Richfield, or you can find the updates over our trading team and trading company and education-based company as well, the Burb Nest, all of which you can find links for in the description. Was looking at this hourly order block, which we'll look at shortly, this H4 gap as well. But this kind of area here, I mean, I even quite like this. Yes, it would be a bit of a deeper retrace, but I think when you're looking at this now, price is really starting to heat up. Now, we could have some poor economic data wash through this week. Sorry, we are going to take a look at the news. We have got another quiet news week, I think, until Thursday this week, same as what we had last week. Really opens up the floor for risk assets because there's no major news drivers. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't get some black swan event that comes in, or you can't get something that comes in that directly targets cryptocurrency. But for our aligned market data, for which we're using as a measure of the risk appetite for the market, looking at things like the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, right? Looking at the dollar index, right? To just gauge that, the US 2s and 10s in terms of bonds, okay? So treasuries, looking, okay, has the market really got that appetite? Does it want to kind of pour money into risk? Because if it does, it doesn't take long for crypto to grab that narrative. And we can see it's been riding that narrative pretty hard for some time now. Now, one of the other things that by popular request I've been asked to do a lot is show a little bit more BPro. So this is our in-house indicator. Members get access to this for free. There's loads of different stuff. It's a standalone indicator. It was built by Crypto Bird himself. It's the system that in strategy that he trades that he's made, I don't know, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 with already this year. I really like it for the divergences, right? So I keep this really, really kind of stripped back. You can use like a Bollinger Band type system. But what I really like about the divergences here is when you look at them at key support and resistance levels, look, we came into not a higher time frame support and an hourly support level here. We get this divergence, and then look what happens. Price climbs in, right? And it closes back above this level. In doing so, we invert this gap. So that should have been a bearish gap. When we close below, when we set this candle here, we expect rejection. When we close above this, violating this, it then becomes an inversion. We're then looking for the market to offer strength. And then we look for the shift in structure, which we get here, all right? So you see this as an MSS market structure shift. Then what you're looking for is energy, displacement, impetus, right? That aggression in the move, telling you that the buyers are really ready. They've stepped in here. Failure to pair orders in here, meaning that the buying pressure was really, really hot. And again, it's that kind of area that we can target then for our long setups. So looking at that here, one of the really, really good things about looking at your divergences, and that's basically when the price action on the chart is at odds or in disagreement with the oscillators, right? So one of which would be, say, the RSI. Now, the great thing about BPro, it has this incredibly smart system built into it whereby it reads the divergences off a multitude of oscillators, right? I believe it's 10 or even 11, and then it gives you this percentage, right? So look, 91% divergence set on this candle. What did it allow us to do? It allowed us to, first of all, expect this to be a corrective move in the ongoing trend, meaning that we look for that correction. We place out our levels, either this order block or this gap, as I said before, to look for longs. If we close below and start to violate it, then we start to say, okay, well, maybe we're actually looking for a deeper corrective move here. We saw the same thing here, an 36% divergence. So a little bit weaker this one, but what did we do? We're engaging with our slope resistance level. Yeah, we can see price getting rejected here. We've got no gaps here, right? So what do we look for? Well, we look simply for the order block. Now, this for me, and certainly how I trade it anyway, there's many different approaches to order blocks. Again, this is just built around systems that I've learned over the years and how I've kind of dissected that data to build other successful trading systems. I look for the flat of the down close candle to the bottom of the wick. Yeah, that's how I look at that for a bullish order block, right? For a bearish one, I would look for the flat bottom of the up close candle all the way to the wick. So this blue area here represents the order block. Now, you very rarely see them on my chart drawn out like that because I don't like the extra noise. What I do is just draw on a simple black line like this, and you will see it labeled up. Most of the time, you will have the label on it showing you that, okay, OBH for 4-hour order block. What do? Do we close below the low of that wick? No, we don't. We just recover this area. That's the springboard we use to trade price higher. So that's what we're looking at. Now, the other advantages on BPro quickly, because I promise to cover this more. I get a lot of DMs. I get a lot of messages about it. I know I'm not particularly good at sharing this information, guys, so I'm trying to get better for you. But if we're looking at our trailer governance as well, so you can put this great trailer on here. You can use moving averages and stuff as well. But what it helps you do, right? So what we've got here is the higher time frame trailer. See the thicker line here? Yeah, see when that turns here. So when's that? That's Monday the 14th. So then what do we look for? Well, then we look to the current time frame trailer. See the thin one? And this is what's really clever about it. So on the 14th, we understand that we've switched bullish on a higher time frame scale. Yes, it gets you in a little bit later to the move, but it gets you into an established trend, right? So then when we come back to retest this area, look how the trailer intersects almost perfectly with our support level here as well. And then remember what I said before, you're then just asking yourself the question of, okay, where are the bullish gaps or order blocks? Yeah, we see we've got the bullish gap here. Price draws down into this, finds support at this level, reclaim the slope resistance here. Just a beautiful way to step into the markets. All right. So I know I don't share enough about this. I do appreciate all of your messages, especially obviously I think because we're, this used to be a paid indicator. We give this to members for free now, right? So there's a lot more people using it. We also have a really successful bot that we've built with it recently that I'll be sharing some more information with you guys on soon. So with that all out of the way, where does that leave us with Bitcoin? Well, quite simply, like I said before, I'm just looking at this 4-hour box here. I refined it down to an hourly here. All right, because we've got this hourly order block. So what do we want to see? Well, if we want to start getting long these markets again, we want to see some kind of liquidity sweep, right? And now we've got that here. We've taken liquidity. All right, we're reacting from our bullish gap here, and we've drawn down into this order block, right? Now, if we're looking at it here as well, if we take the order block as we kind of discussed it here, right, and just from the top to the bottom, we can see that we've had quite a lot of encroachment into the lower half of this. All right, now I'm happy to see this. Yakuza Kana, Touche, how are you doing, my friends? Good to see you both. Now, this can be seen as a sign of weakness here. I'm being a little bit more optimistic with it today. I think we've had this kind of quite aggressive drop here overnight. Obviously, we came into Asia's trading session in here. Price has kind of pulled back, continued that trend at the start of London. But, is this a move lower? To take out stops below any of these lows, all very tempting, by the way, before price recovers. So I really want to see if we get back above the hourly order block here. And there's a little extra kind of incentive or a little bit of extra confirmation. We've got this bearish gap here, right? So if I want to play this really safe, what I want to see is in 41 minutes time or the candle after, I want to see a bullish close above this. It takes the bearish gap. It makes it into an inversion gap, right? Meaning this area should offer support. And then basically from here, I'm looking for this. Yeah, we chase this. We keep chasing this higher. Now, if we get a deeper correction, however, that is something that I'm absolutely not worried about one iota, because I really do think at the moment that it's, presenting a lot of good buying opportunities. But also, we've got to remember that, and when Bitcoin's consolidating, and maybe this has kind of formed its way into a nice little range here, for example, take a look at this. Maybe kind of down to this low. Actually looks really nice and clean now, doesn't it? If I kind of clean up, don't know if I can get away with this, but let's see. If I can clean up this, right, just quickly look at this range. Yeah, here's the high. So I'd call this like an expansion range. Okay, now that's one whereby you see this impulse move here or an impulse range. Then you set a clean low. And then I want to see the midline's been engaged with. We can see that it has here and here. And look at this beautiful support, resistance to support flip here before expansion. Then what we see here is we get this deviation. Always think of SC. And he says that, the absolute legend. Deviation, price climbs back in the range. What do we get? Retest, price sells off. We first target the midline. We then target the range lows. So all of a sudden, we can see a plan starting to emerge here that if we come down and we do something like this, yeah, reclaim that level, climb back in the range here, then we can target midline first and ultimately range higher afterwards. So there's a few different ways that we can look at this, but basically with Bitcoin at the moment, happy for this to purge a little bit lower. But, as I said a few moments ago, and if I just undo all of this here, while we're kind of holding this gap, I've got no real interest in shorting this. I'm just looking for lower targets. And then, as Touche says here, and I like this plan as well, right? The SFP of the weekend lows could be a potential long, right? So let me show you what alpha he's sharing here, right? So we've got this, so what do we got here? Monday today, yeah, Saturday, and Sunday. So all of a sudden you're looking always at liquidity, right? So the low of the range we just drew in happens to also be this low down here, which is 68.023. So as we discussed, price likes to look for this. Also, look, we've tapped this now, but that was untapped liquidity. We got untapped liquidity there. Now here as well, and look what else kind of aligns with this if we gap through it, is we've got this gap. Yeah, we got this gap that's just asking to be rebalanced there. So while that exists, all of a sudden, you start seeing a move like this and recover that. For me, this point here, the recovery and look for that retest. And that really is go time there. So yeah, really good point there, Touche. And again, always nice when you've got some overlaid confluence, right? You're looking at these things to all kind of line up. So I want to keep the show a little bit shorter today. So we are going to go and take a look at some alts as well. Yeah, and a good point there from Seb. It could be good to retest the downtrend as support. The other thing that, I'm always looking at here as well is the kind of the origins of these impulse moves, right? Because what we had here is you had this beautiful impulse move higher. This was, mass manipulation here, wiping out liquidity, both sides of the market before price ultimately settled back into a trend. Then we had this corrective move here, right? And this was a really good example of two different kind of approaches to this. One being the idea that we've got stacked liquidity above here, what I used to call clusters, or if anybody that's traded under Michael or learned any ICT concepts will know this is LR, low resistance liquidity run. But basically it's these clusters of highs that present themselves as great liquidity targets. You see these recoveries, quite often these are targeted the same way as we did here. Look, see these untapped lows just collecting. There was one here, here, equal lows between those two. Price runs into this, grabs that liquidity, engages with a higher time frame gap in this case. Then we get this beautiful breakout, this order block here, retest of this, and price is away. But the other key thing that I'm looking at here are these consolidation areas that lead to these big pumps. So for example, I'm looking at these, this collection of down close candles over here. Now, again, I'm not saying that we're coming down this low, right? But what I would be interested in, see how price broke away from this, retest this area, and then sold up. So we've got a, big order block up here, had a very small retest of it here, but nothing really since. So, I'm comfortable getting into longs all the way down here, right? Remember, as we kind of just zoom out a little bit, always good to get the context, right? People will start to get bearish. People will start to short this market. Right, let me just clean these up a little bit. Right, people will start to get bearish. People will start to short this market. And at the end of the day, what have we got here? Brilliant draw. We've got a daily order block here as well. So actually, let's upgrade that to our order block daily because we want to give preference to the order blocks, the gaps or levels that have that are on the higher time frame. Daily gap, daily order block, key area down here, right, of demand. So I think it's into. Do you know what I mean? There's just a lot of there's just a lot of confluence down there, right? It's just kind of hard to ignore. So if we get that deeper correction, I think, you could take some intraday short positions, just for example, right? But I think actually overall, then you would need to, you need to really be considering being long here, because if we look at this expansion move higher, there hasn't really been kind of any significant retest in that. We're still high up in this 50% range. Now, we could take it from the most recent expansion leg from the low to the high of this. And then you could kind of say, okay, you're still in there, even if you wanted to be super creative and just take it within the actual key low to the key high, which I like doing, which is just giving a bit more of that term recency. So that's the last swing low, right? That's the last swing higher. So all of a sudden you're looking at this and saying, wow, that golden pocket really doesn't line up well with the daily order block as well, right? So quick question here, why can't I try to use this Binance for my case? Well, let's see further. Yeah, definitely don't put your seed phrase online, mate. And for anybody reading this, don't try and copy that seed phrase either. No offense, Riddis, but it's the sure way to get scammed or to scam. So not saying that you're either of those people, but please do be careful with your seed phrase. If you're dealing with any exchange, then just speak to the exchanges directly. I know people at Binance and OKX directly, and they're incredibly, incredibly helpful people. So I would just suggest reach out to them in private. Make sure you're going through a verified channel and resource. Go to the website, verify the website, make sure you're contacting help and support through that, and then follow those steps. And I'm sure they will help you out, my friend. So all of that aside, has anybody got any alts? I know Seb very kindly asked us for FTM, right? So let's take a look at ETH, and then we'll take a look at FTM as well. Again, look, just really, really simple sometimes. You don't need to kind of overcomplicate these things. Just if you see a really key area like we've got here, now you'll see quite often that, I'll have these things as lions like this one here. So this for me is a really key level on ETH. But the this area here was too hard to ignore. Look at all the down candles here, down wicks and the up wicks here. So when we got back into here, this is where we were long, took liquidity, broke back down, failed on the retest, just ripped through it, right? And then all of a sudden we get this beautiful retest of this area that's allowed us to just get back into our long positions. And now ultimately, you know, holding this up for 2817.80, all right, here on Bitget. Remember, do obviously check that with your exchanges. Do really encourage you guys as well, you know, to come over and try Bitget with us. At the moment, there's no better opportunity. You can just fly over with us. And just by signing up, they're going to give you $20, right? So you just come over, sponsoring at the moment. They're celebrating the La Liga campaign. So come over, use the link that's down in the description. You just go on there, free $20. It just seems like a no-brainer to me. And then just, you know, go and risk it on some memes, or go and put it into a risk control portfolio, or trade with it. You can access all of those over there. So do go and check it out. You can also use this one as well, same thing, but just make sure you're going through on the Bird Nest link and come and trade with us over there. We're doing some amazing things there at the minute, and we're getting some really, really good deals for members. So do go and check them out. So where does it leave us at the moment? Well, ETH for me is really in an interesting spot. So this whole area is too big for me to be an order block, but I'm definitely interested to see if price kind of revisits this area, right? Because it is a collection of down close candles, but the nuance that we add into this is, you know, if you're accepting a whole area like this as an order block, the same with that one, they're just going to be too large. So interesting to see if we come back down to here. That's 2,693 that we've got. Also, if we set this daily candle around here and we create this gap below us, would be a really good place to add confluence. I wouldn't mind seeing this retested. I think for me, that's the last kind of order block that we had here. You can see on a daily scale, price closed above it. We never actually got that retest. So we want to just label that up. So that's down as we move across the time frames as well. So we're now going to move down to a 4 hour and see if we've got any more detail here. Let me just get rid of the session breaks again. So this is just super simple for me here, right? So we've got price being supported in this bullish gap, which is our H4. While we hold this, then absolutely looking for higher. We've also dipped in now into our H4 order block, you know, or demand, area of demand, right? So you want to drive into these. Yeah, you want to see how price reacts here on the lower time frames, gives us that impetus to move higher. Again, I wouldn't rule out a deeper corrective move here. We know we've got this key untested high time frame order block here. We also have this gap a little bit lower. So if we did see this, what would be great would be to see price kind of, you know, maybe not with this 4 hour candle, but maybe if we have a drive down into here through New York AM and then just induce some shorts before recovering this, I think that could be a really good play. On the hourly, again, we can start to see these reactions. Now, the hourly isn't really giving us a lot here, right? Because while we're reacting here at the 4 hour order block, which I really like, and we're holding a 4 hour gap, again, which I really like, then as long as we continue to do that, I am looking up, right? However, we've inverted this H1 gap here, yeah, closed below it, meaning that we look for price to seek liquidity lower. Ultimately, it's found this order block here, but I do, you know, I like to see these things typically kind of sweep some kind of time frame aligned low in this case. So I'd certainly be interested to see if we just get a little sharper move down here and then recover again. But ultimately, I'd probably move to, say, a 15-minute here and really look for that change in state of delivery again. Really do like to see kind of some kind of sweep, some kind of inducement. Now, we have, however, taken this gap low, yeah, or an intermediate term low if you study ICT. This low here, which is sat within a fair value gap. Again, you know, I know people have a lot of mixed opinions on ICT, but I do think it's some of the best, you know, price action education out there, whether you believe in the algorithm and bits and pieces like that. I believe that algorithms definitely control the stock market. I'm not, you know, necessarily, I'm far from an ICT purist, but I do believe it's important to study people like this. I know he is a very popular chap and has, you know, ultimately done quite a lot for the space, I think, as much criticism that he comes in for. But the theories are just price action theories, people, right? You know, there's no reinventing of the wheel. The theories and the way that he teaches it is his own. But look, yeah, this is either under ICT's teaching an intermediate term low because it's a low within a gap, or it's a gap low. It just means that you've got a liquidity pool here within the gap and the low is within that. So it should, you know, be able to harbor a good reaction. Anyway, so what am I looking for here? Well, a couple of things, actually. because there's some nice confluence in here. And what I really like is the way that we're building these highs, right? Again, untapped high, untapped high, untapped high, untapped high. You can see the liquidity building to the upside, but I still want to see some impetus from the market, right? You know, absolute dude in the market, a chap called Follis, who I'm sure you guys all know, I got to spend some time with recently, which was a blessing because just a wonderful human being and an exceptional trader. And, you know, came across this video of his recently where he said something that really resonates with me, which is, you know, especially with any kind of traders of inexperience. Now, this is an inversion gap here as well. Look at that strong reaction, price closing above this. It's really, really important that we get that there. You know, that's the first signs of some kind of reversal. The only thing that's getting me is I would have loved to have seen this low taken out. However, something we could check here very quickly is let's take a look at Bitcoin. And let's use the time frame aligned chart here. Let's get on the perp chart. And let's get to the 15-minute, right? Because something I've been noticing a lot more recently, these, by the way, off the back of the Bitcoin update, but that's one to shill for later. So what I was actually wondering here was 10:30 to 10:30. Now, what we've seen a few times recently is this divergence here, right, between Bitcoin and between ETH. Yeah, as in we saw that Bitcoin kind of came down and ran this low. So on this one, we had a flat low there. And what happened recently on the higher time frames, and has been happening a few times, is Bitcoin ran this low, taking liquidity, and then that caused the move up. But actually, ETH failed, right? So you would be looking for some kind of divergence there to say that actually ETH was showing more strength there. It didn't need to purge liquidity before having that recovery, all right? So that's something that's worthwhile knowing, but we don't have that correlation here today. So we're not going to focus in on that. So what do I want to see here from Ethereum, right? So I've got the inversion. We've got our first kind of point that we have, a potential recovery here. So what else do we need to see? Well, I really do like the fact that we've created this inversion here, but now it's also a balanced price range, and we've also got a bullish gap sitting there now as well, right, between these candles. So I think ideal world scenario would be this. We've got this high here, which I get less concerned about watching how we displace potentially above this, right? So let's have a look, if we put this in as our OB here. All right, and we'll label this up as well so we know that it's our M15. Again, just doing it here, you'll get into these habits. They're good habits to have, because then as you look back across the chart, you're like, okay, 4-hour one here, we're holding a 4-hour gap. And to just not discourage yourself when you go on to the lower time frames, because remember, we're holding this gap at the moment. You can color them. So, you know, if you close below it and violate it, then change the color. And then you know that this should be resistance, not support. Or if you're comfortable with it, like I like to leave them in gray so that they're not so obtrusive, right? Now, what we can see here is if we close above this, we're going to get our 15-minute order block. So then all of a sudden, what do we have? We got a really interesting change here from price, because it's happily in a downtrend here. We've now engaged with a key liquidity level. We've seen this bullish reaction. We've inverted this 15-minute gap. We've left this 15-minute bullish gap. Now, if we can get a test of this, get back above this, that to me looks like a high probability setup. And just to go to the point, to extend it to the point that Follis was talking about, just giving that legend a shout out, then what you would have here is you would actually have a market structure break as well. Right, because this is the high. That's a higher low. So lower low, yes, so lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low, break above this, get the higher high. All of a sudden, we then got this beautiful order block here to start looking for long positions. All right, so that's the core principles of what I'm looking at for that kind of confirmation play. But never forgetting to just zoom out, right? Look back and say, okay, well, look, if we're going to correct deeper, is it something I want to chase? Not really, but ultimately, if we start, if we close below this 4-hour gap, then my assumption is that we're probably heading for this one lower down. Could take some intraday short positions if they were really super clean, or probably just wait and be patient for these kind of areas to get retested and then look to get back on board with some long positions. So we're going to take a look at FTM. We've probably got about another 10 minutes left in the show after that. If anybody has any other alts they'd like me to take a look at, please do let me know. I'll do this one on the spot chart for you guys as well. I'm not sure how many of you are going to be looking to intraday trade this, right? But ultimately, yeah, again, gaps just, working really well. When you start to see these inversions, right? Just to give you a quick example, this isn't one of those like hindsight, oh, look at me, wasn't this a great call kind of thing, right? Key support and resistance level acting as resistance. What happens? We engage with that. What do we then do? Well, we expect a move with impetus above it. Yeah. If we look into close, remember, there's just wicks above there. You want to see a big, strong move, right? And then you want to see a retest, and then you start targeting those long positions. Otherwise, like these, they become deviations. So what we had here was a nice bullish gap. So what do we do? Well, we expect expansion, then for the bullish gap to be retested, the buyers to step back in and push us higher. Ultimately, we then closed below it here. Yeah, broken record time, I know, guys, but repetition is good. As long as it's accurate, I suppose. Right, we then close below this, inverting the gap. We then have this inversion, plus we have a bearish gap here. So all of a sudden, price is just begging you to short this here. And then just when you're looking to change direction on that, you want to wait for that impetus. You want to wait for that kind of sign. Any bearish gaps in here? No. You get the first indication that price is ready to move here when you get the inversion. But then if you wait for the confirmation, which is the order block, boom, close above, perfect retest, begging you to long, right? Look, nowhere really to reject price here. It's all very, very balanced. Now, price creates its own liquidity internally as it moves, which we can see here. But once again, our old friend, the gap inversion was here, breaks down below, sets the bearish gap, comes back up, perfect resistance. And then just for a little bit of extra broken record for you, because I know you all love it so much, we get the same here. Okay, now, so forgetting that, let's just kind of zoom in on this here because we want to look at the daily as well. And we don't need this stuff anymore, right? Just save that as some old data. You never know, by the way, guys. Now, I always like to save all the old drawings and bits and pieces. So even if you just pop it in as old data and then just set yourself aside a nice hour on a Sunday afternoon or something to sit and go through, maybe when you're looking, to review your journal and bits and pieces like that and just clear that data out. Oh, sorry, quick sip of some very lukewarm tea. We can absolutely take a look at JUP after this as well for you, Peter. So on the daily scale, what am I looking at? What's exciting me? What's not exciting me? I mean, SR level that's run through here. I mean, this thing is so clean. It's pretty ridiculous, actually, when you look at it on the daily. Look at it. Yeah. Resistance. Pretty sharp sell-off. Support, holds the gap, retest, perfect retest, boom, violence, right? Aggressive move away. Then look what happens when we close below, retest, sell off. Price can't get above, climbs back underneath, sells off to key liquidity resting under this low. And then once again, look, we get back above it here, fine. We don't see the perfect retest here, right? But again, looking at this kind of area, which you refine on the lower time frames, look what happens when price loses this area. Yeah, again, this drive down just below the line, big move higher. Ultimately, then when this breaks down, so when we get back here, we see resistance, resistance, resistance again. So what do I want to see? Well, I want to see price building this structure. Yeah, so like we talked about here, you want to start to see the bullish gaps adhered to, right? Which I'll just do in green for the ease of this, right? So this was the key area here. Now, the next point is then when we're sat into a new trend, we want to see the down close candle defending price higher. Down close candle, price closes above, retests, up we go. So then what do? Well, then we look for the next set of down close candles. Yeah, down close singular candle or adjoined candles here if they're consecutive. Price closes below, breaks above, and what do we get? That perfect setup that we love to see, which is a bullish gap supported by a bullish order block. This area now should be offering support moving higher. So if we're applying those same principles, apart from the fact that we're kind of stuck a little bit at this resistance level, which we need to focus in on, is this, right? So we did get that move above here, right? If we just want to draw this in, sorry, the order block is the daily, right? So OBD. So what does this mean? Well, it means that we've left a lot of liquidity resting out above this high, right, on FTM. So that's definitely tempting me up here. Now, price doesn't really want to just take a run at this necessarily. It's obviously drawing back into this order block. So something I would overlay here to give me a little bit of extra confidence is take from the high of that order block down to the low of the wick. Yeah, so it's these two consecutive candles I'm allowing for the flat of the body down to the low of the wick. I know people will do this differently. So, always welcome you guys in my DMs, but just to let you know, there's, your interpretation of the market, order block, supply, demand, etc., should be refined by what you research, what you study, and then what you apply. People will have different approaches. There's many different ways to skin a cat, as we say here in the UK. So if I just put a simple 50% Fibonacci on this, then this line here, it's the wrong way around, by the way, just before the ICT purists come and start to crucify me for the premium discount range. Yeah, just a simple 50%. So be nice to see this kind of hold here. We have this kind of interior order block here as well, right, which is worth considering because it wasn't, this wasn't retested. And for me, what I look for here, let's add this one back in as well. What I look for here with this is the fact that see the body of this candle closes below the body of this order block candle. For me, that's entered its own new range there. So this has significance as an individual candle. If that body was within the body of these two, then I would always kind of, look to that and consider that less significant. So while we're here, we can also see if we just extend this range up. So all we're doing is measuring from this high to this low, the last swing high to the last swing low. Yeah. So this range here, and we've had this, but it's not confirmed yet because of this candle. So we're now just dipping down into the lower 50%, meaning that this presents better buying opportunities from a perspective of risk to reward. So how can we then focus in on that? Well, really, really simply, I've got a downside target here. I've also got this one here, and we know this gap has held. So we can see the support down here. So if I want to start looking and considering long positions, then I want to see this H4 bullish gap hold. And for this to be the springboard that then launches price higher. Drawing down here, we can see again, if we use our principle of 50%, that we've come down into this lower half again from a risk to reward, favoring long positions. So, makes sense to me that we either hold this gap and move up. What would just be a beautiful thing, we've only got 16 minutes here as well, right? But would be to see price wick down into this order block here. We also have this untested order block here as well. And I'm allowing for both of these, okay, because this little order block here and this have the same high, the same flat-bodied high. So I think that provides a really tempting area as well. So basically, whatever we're doing here, we can see how all this stacked support coming back in. So a retest of this area here would be a really great place to consider buyers, in my opinion, right? But again, I would always look for confirmation, as we covered on the 15-minute chart. Great way is to wait for price to come into a key level. Say this is our support level, or this is our, order block line, for example. You want to watch in, or I like to watch in for these liquidity sweeps, right? So it's something like this where price sweeps a key liquidity, has a, aggressive recovery here with impetus that either leaves us, a bullish gap in here that we can get involved in, or potentially like a bearish gap in here, that we can invert. So we get that inversion, we get that violation, bearish gap, disrespected, price comes back down, and then we can look to the breaker or the order block that's set in here for these buy orders. That is pretty much, in a nutshell, what I would be looking for there. So again, FTM looking good, right? Let's look at the market structure. Hold this bullish gap, we push higher. I don't mind us wicking down into these levels here. In fact, I'd be more than happy to see that. I just wouldn't want, if we start closing below this, feels like we maybe kind of draw this in a little bit lower. So let's close up today on JUP, shall we? Let's get ourselves a nice view on this one. Okay, so another one, right, that's got that quite nice, expansion there. We can see kind of been consolidating down here in this range really for a little while. I mean, this could be, looking at a little bit of a range breakout here. I mean, this really isn't, I would say, the traditional way to necessarily draw a range. You see that, again, what I would call an impulse range. You see we have this move lower and then this move to the higher here. If I kind of made an allowance for this as the low, and then for that as the higher, because correction, there's the high, immediate engagement with the midline. We can see midline here, right, when we recover this, often offers a really strong point of support. But this is definitely the biggest displacement we've had outside of this, right? Deviation, price came back inside. Deviation, price came back inside. You're very welcome, Seb. And look how we can kind of line these up, right? If we use our divergences here, see what a powerful tool they are. Divergence here at the range low gives you that extra confidence to step in long. Divergence here, right, which gives you a little warning that maybe range low isn't on the horizon here because we've taken liquidity from this low. Maybe that's all we need, yeah? And it gets back above there, strong close, retest, boom. Again, deviation. Look what happened when the wick shows absorption here. So you expect that corrective move. Remember, like I said, you're not expecting a reversal on your deviations. What you want to do is look at this, see the deviation, think, right, this is the corrective move that allows me to get involved in some long positions here. So bang. What happens if you start to violate that? Well, quite simply, look, I know it's a skinny gap here, guys, but look, let me tell you this. You violate the gap here and this order block. Price closes below it here. What does it tell you? Price probably wants a bit lower. Yeah, so you don't have to second guess this. In the same way that we get our divergence here, we get two beautiful things here. We get the perfect break above and retest of that order block. Price closes above here, perfect retest here and here. And within doing that, we also come off the back and retest this beautiful inversion gap. I mean, that thing's screaming at you that there's an early reversal there. Anyway, before I digress too much, this is where we are. B-Pro just absolutely sick at that. So now we've got the divergence here. Remember, it doesn't confirm until the next candle, right? So when you get the divergence, like with anything, you need to wait for that next candle confirmation. So let's see what the 4 hour is telling us. And the 4 hour isn't really showing any signs of letting up here. Again, beautiful confirmation there with the divergence aligned with the daily. Same one with this one here. You see we got this very, very little 9% one here. Ultimately had this tiny corrective move and then really, really ripped, right? So like with anything in trading, nothing's ever perfect or 100%. That's why, look, if you ignore all the noise and just focus on the key areas, where are you interested? Here. Your divergence backs it up. Where else? Here, your divergence backs it up. Here, your divergence backs it up, right? And again here, why here? Because again, we're running and engaging with the extremes of the range, the high and the low, yeah? And you can allow that with the midline as well. You know, you see rejections here, for example, a small corrective move here. But I would always say, really, it pays to be involved at the extremes. So, just very quickly, and yeah, your Yakuza kind of, we will make time for that for you, my friend. Why the heck not? So, but that will have to be our last one today, I'm afraid, guys. But I will be back on Wednesday for Alt Request Wednesday as well. So please do remember to let me know what ones you want me to take a look at. So bullish gap here. I know this sounds like a broken record, but we don't want to be, you know, we don't want to be short assets that are hot, right? So there was an order block there. We have another slightly skinnier one here on the H4 as well. So make sure we're just labeling these up so we can tell. I'm going to get rid of that one because that one's been retested. So again, really hold this area. And I think, you know, we look to move higher here. If we wanted to refine this, you can use an hourly or you can use even a 15-minute, right? Now, for me, and again, just my type of trading, anything below an hourly, I'm not as interested in the divergences, although the 15-minute ones are pretty sick, actually, for some scalping systems we built. But I digress. Now, what I like about this on the hourly is that we have this aligned gap, which isn't too uncommon because we're just in the, you know, in the body of a larger H4 gap here, right? But price driving into this, again, you know, whether you're somebody that's looking at this in terms of premium discount ranges, or you're somebody that's looking at this as traditional Fibonacci, whether you're taking your low from here or here, right? I tend to just, you know, I think it's a little bit subjective. I tend to focus on clear and obvious. So for me, this is the real corrective move down. We had this pump, corrective move down here, took liquidity. So this is a clean low for me. And that's obviously a very clean high. So as I'm looking at this, I'm saying, okay, we're now down below 50%, which is inducing buyers or encouraging buyers, sorry. And then as we look here, maybe we wick down towards the golden pocket here before seeing a recovery. So what else could we see? Well, quite simply on an hourly scale, let's get back above these down close candles, set our hourly OB, yeah. In fact, I have an hourly one labeled up on there, but very simple to do that. Okay, now remember, this doesn't confirm until we break above it. Yeah, in the same way that this bearish order block here, which is the up close candle, so the body of that, when we close below it here, that's when we look for the retest and the sell-off. Yeah, so it'd be the same with this. I would love to see it back above here if you're very aggressive. And you know you want to kind of position yourself quite quickly here, then like we said before, I'd say these down close candles here from the body of this one, we've had the liquidity sweep from the low here. Yeah. Now wouldn't it be great if, again, we got this kind of secret sauce that we look for here? This is a bearish gap at the moment. It's been rebalanced, but we can see its rejected price. Now, close above this, setting that order block, and close above this, making this an inversion gap. And I'd find it very, very difficult not to step into some long positions there, chasing liquidity higher. All right, but as it stands, I think when we look at that Fibonacci, we could be due a bit of a deeper retracement here, but that's where I sit on JUP. Sorry. Now, last one, we're going to look at APT for our friend Yakuza Kana here. Actually, I think it's been a while since we've had anything on this one, right? So I know most alts are going to look fairly similar. So just zooming out to say, okay, well, where are we? What was the most recent thing that we've done? We've taken this high from over here, so we can see liquidity's been swept. That's the level that is capping the market. If we get back above that, then chances are we're going to establish ourselves and move higher. We've seen an initial reaction here at the daily gap. Just do that in green again so it stands out. I mean, yeah, again, pretty clean here, right? I know it's not going to help you immediately, but on a daily scale, if we can get ourselves above the daily order block here and set that, I would have more encouragement. The price was looking to move up here. I think the 4 hours probably going to tell us a little bit more, or give us a little bit more information. Now, what we've done here is, excuse me, is we've left relative equal highs up here, which is a really good sign, because that's like a form of engineered liquidity, this high and this high, which are relatively equal. Price drawing up. Peter, you're very welcome. So what are we looking at here? Well, actually, we can see, obviously on the daily scale, these consecutive 4-hour down close candles make the order block as well, which is what we're looking to hold price here. Just as a little quick reminder on that, is this down close candle here. We want to see price close above this. So if we want to refine this to a 4-hour scale, now we've had this large down close candle here, which is above price. So we can refine this further and say, okay, well, this is really the 4-hour close that we want to see. And I think that's what I'm comfortable with here. Apart from that, a lot of inefficiencies down in this move. I think I would just want to see the strength is really here. We've got equal highs above, as long as we don't run them and take them with the close above this. I think that's what I really want to see on APT. But just to kind of give a bit of hourly context, one thing we can see here is we've had this hourly inversion now. All right, so that's a little bit of a sign of weakness there. Obviously, we want to pay homage to the high time frame. We always do. And I'll tell you this right now, Asia's low is sat down here. That could just be the perfect liquidity target for today, to watch price trundle down, get back above this, and give the impetus to go long here. All right, so definitely keep an eye on that. I think closing back above this here would be a good sign of strength, right? So close back above here, but ideally, I think for me today, I'd want to see the 4-hour close above there, and then I think this thing could really run hot. All right, legends. Well, I managed to keep it a little bit shorter. It wasn't much shorter in truth, maybe sort of 6 or 8 minutes, but really appreciate every single one of you that came and joined us today. 2,500 people currently live with us just through Twitter alone, which is just magnificent, and we'll probably have a similar amount through YouTube. So just want to say a big and special thank you to all of you. It always means a lot to me that so many of you take the time to tune in, and thank you all for your lovely DMs, messages, bits and pieces. Apologies if I can't get back to all of you. I really, really do feel the love, and it's wonderful to have you here. Now, if you do want to come and trade with me and the team, you can do so over at Bitget. So make sure to go and check out that down in the description. Some amazing deals to join at the moment. And guys, just go and grab your free $20. I mean, you just go on there, set up an account. I've done it. The whole trading team's done it. I've been trading over with Bitget for a while now, really helping them refine that exchange into, in my opinion, one of the best for user experience, but also for fees. I run a live trading club, very small part of what we do over at the Bird Nest, right? And, I run that on Tuesdays to Thursdays. We've been doing it since March. I think we're about 57 are up. Yeah, so, for every one that you've risked, we're times 57 on that at the moment. We're trying to get to plus 100 R before the end of the year. The swing trading team, people like my brother Jay, the trading tank, who's just a legendary swing trader, Just Pitt, who's a huge emerging talent on the scene now as well. Very experienced guy, but only kind of just getting into socials. Our wonderful Jimmy, your NLP coach, Resume, blessed to work alongside these people. Chris, our wonderful fundamental analyst, and obviously the legend Crypto Burb as well, who always puts his money where his mouth is. Come over and join us, guys, right? Come over and join us at Bitget, but come and join us at the Nest as well. Yeah, look, just the trading team calls have just been crushing it. Look, just these ones alone, plus 66%, plus 44%. We had ones on Mother. We got Jay just slayed PopCat. I mean, it was ridiculous. 600% up on that, I think, accumulatively through September. And this is where you can come and join us, right? And come and join, look, members of ours, just really killing it at 448%, 138%. Education, calls, everything is live for you. So you can always take a look at that. And just in September alone, if you'd had a 10K account with us and followed the trading team calls, you would have made almost that 10K back again with no leverage, all right, 48.37R in September. So come along, come and join Bitget, come and use the trading team calls, come and grab yourself over there, grab the trading team calls, use the B Pro to get yourself into positions, access all the education material so you can learn and pursue your own financial freedom. And then off the back of that, right, you can then just take the calls and make some money on the side and just put that time into education so you can pursue this yourself. All right, guys, huge thank you to everybody. Those of you that are over with us at the Nest, I'm going to see you over there this afternoon, and then we're going to be live with the trading session tomorrow. I'll be back live for all of you on Wednesday when we're going to look at our Alt Request Wednesday, so please do hit me up with any of your requests you want us to take a look at there as well. Touche, really respect and thank you for the love you've shown there in the comments as well as everyone else. Have a fantastic week ahead. Let's get in there. Let's absolutely crush it.
Introducing Xcredi LP staking from industry-leading RWA loan collateralization platform Credify. Earn 10% cashback in USDT after 90 days, with more rewards coming soon for Xcredi holders. Visit v2.credify.finance today.